And again, we talked about this being a journey and not really a destination. So even as we have committed to have this session, let us also remember that learning is a continuous process. So it's again in understanding, now that I know my risk levels, for example, so what options do I have to invest? What options do I have to save? So remember, in all these steps, we are constantly educating ourselves. You can attend trainings, you can go to YouTube, you can hire a financial coach. There's so many options, especially in our time, that we can invest in just to continue and grow our financial knowledge. And then the best thing is starting. If you have just recently completed uni, don't say, I'm waiting to get a job and then I can start checking on my finances. Because at the end of the day, there's money that you're getting, maybe from your parents, maybe from your relatives, maybe you have a side business, there's money that you're getting and there's money that you're giving. And in that aspect, you already can create a budget and, yes. So the thing that you're getting from this step is start with where you are and what you have. Don't wait for a perfect opportunity. Don't say, if I will wait until I have money that's 6-figure and then I will start to create a financial plan. Start with what you have and where you are. And then the final step, yes, this is the final step. We need to regularly review and adjust your financial plan. Remember, I have talked about that with ages come different things. Right now, maybe my goal is to finish uni. Maybe there's somebody whose goal is to start building a house, maybe get married. We're in different stages. So we need to regularly review and adjust our financial plans in relation to where we are in life, right? And this also helps us build that discipline, because I'm able to follow through and with what I had started with. And this is important because it will make sure that they still fit your needs. We have said, as human beings, you're forever growing and you're forever experiencing. Here, who is on retirement, you cannot expect that finished university, or a person who's just, kindly mute your mics. Thank you. So you cannot expect their financial plan to be the same with somebody who has just finished, campus, or who has just gotten married and that. So there's the need to review and adjust. And that's why we talk about just start with what you have and where you are. Times and seasons change. So you need to go with the seasons. And that's why we have also talked about needing to educate yourself, because especially I will use Kenya because that's where I am. You will get to understand, even with the political season, so much has happened, right? Even for all of us. One thing I have added to the slides is on inflation, with the what do you call it, Ukraine war and everything that's happening. We find that inflation rate globally, it actually stands at 9.6%. Imagine that. For Kenya, we are currently at, no, it's 9.1 globally, and for Kenya, we are at 7.6. So understanding such will enable you to adjust. We have said we're reviewing so that we know where to adjust. And even as I end with this slide, I'd like us to know that we are changing the plan, not the goal. Your goals are constant. So when the environment changes, we are reviewing in order to see how can we still get to that goal. So make sure your goal is as clear as possible. Okay. And then we'll go to factors. What will influence how I plan for my finances? We talked about reviewing, and one of the things we talked about is I'll get to know how I spend my money. Am I an impulse buyer? Am I a miser? Do I hold money, right? Do I just splurge money anyway? How? So these are things that will influence how you create your financial plan. What is my view on savings? What is my view on investment? Am I of the opinion that the world is ending soon? So there's no need to accumulate wealth because it will be eaten by the moth. We have different types of savings. different things that influence how we think and our mindset. And I'm hoping through this session we'll be able to, think through them and feel financial advisor you have. So even in this, we also need to realize that there are people who are doing a job. They are doing it so that they can get paid. And there are people who are out to financial advice that you have, maybe from a coach, even from a family. Going back to the example of, what's your background? Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in an environment of, money does not grow or does not grow on trees? So stop asking for this and that and this and that. It influences the mindset that you have around money. So these are things that can influence how you plan or how you create your financial pathway. So there are so many other things that can influence, and we can also add them to the chat box, and we'll be able to review them as we continue. And we also need to remember that the wealth of an individual is the wealth of a nation. So if it's that business, please start. Yeah. And we'll also now go to the benefits of financial planning. And for this, I see the chat box is quite silent. Kindly let's have 5 people who can tell us why is all this important. I've really talked about financial planning. Let me see raised hands in the chat box. Why do we think this is important? Why are we talking about it in the first place from what I have talked about? Maybe we can get volunteers. Why is it important? Why are we talking about this? I see Zabia asking if I will share the budget template. Yes, it will be shared. Guys, why do we think budgeting is important? Why are we talking about this? I want to hear your thoughts and your views on the same. Remember, no answer is wrong, right? Today we are very quiet. Do we have Silas who can help me with that? And maybe I'm not seeing people.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes. Do we have people who have raised their hands?
Yes. Good match. You can unmute.
Okay.
Thank you. Am I the one speaking?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
go ahead.
Okay. Financial literacy is good in a way. It helps in a way that you make good decision when it comes to financial issues.
Yes.
Also,
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Also, you can add. Still okay.
Also, it helps you to understand how to raise money and how to invest them. How to invest it when you raise money and how to invest it. Yeah, those are the few points. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I'm giving you virtual claps because I see you're very attentive, and already I can tell that you're having your takeaways, even from where we are at. That's really nice. And so just to sum it up, one of the reasons why we are planning for money is to ensure there's availability of money, right? We know the type of investment vehicles that we are using. So for example, I do not invest so much in land, and that land is not developed, and so I do not have liquid cash. And when an emergency comes or when I need money quick, I do not have money. I have land, but I don't have money. So also ensuring that we balance our investments so that we have money available. When I have a financial plan, I'm able to know what goes where. So I'm able to plan even for my activities and all that, right? I'm able to be accountable because if I set maybe 15% for a certain endeavor, if I know that is the amount I'm supposed to spend. And so in case I go beyond that, somebody has a track to keep me accountable. I hope you understand that. It also gives you confidence because you know how much you have, you know how much is going where. So I can speak confidently on making an investment because maybe I know the money is there, right? When I have a plan because I know how much money I have allocated to the different spheres that affect me, I am able to break it down and know how much money is going to my mandatory bills, how much money is going to my giving, how much money is going to my spending, how much money is going to my needs, right? So again, it is attached to the confidence, because I know I'm not spending money that is not there, or I am not overspending money that is there, right? And then one of the things we will realize, in certain financial goals, there are goals that we might not reach with the amount that we have. Maybe if I have a salary of, let's say, 5,000 US dollars, right? And one of my goals is to live in a house worth maybe 80,000, US dollars. I will realize that my current income cannot, it opens my mind to, so what ways are available that I can be able to bring in the income. And so what that does is you're able to create multiple streams of income. If you do not know where you are at, you cannot think of growing because you see no need of the same, right? So another thing I'm hoping is once we start on this journey, kindly mute me, Silas. Thank you. So the other thing is, when we understand where we are at and we know what we want to get to, we're able not to think and be very creative. So what can I do to reach my financial goal, right? What skill do I have? What talent do I have that I can monetize and get extra income that will help me achieve my financial goals, right? And even as we come to the close of that, this is something I hold in high regard. It's a quote, and it says, we are all, no one is me, how we can manage money and how we can multiply money. And that is why we're very keen on financial planning. How you make your money, how you manage it, and how you multiply your money will influence where you stand in the scales of wealth, right? And so we'll now go to budgeting, so that we are able to spend within our means, right? And in spending, that means that we do not stop doing the things we enjoy doing, but rather finding ways of, maybe what do we need to cut that's not important, so that you can accommodate this that I find important, right? So a budget will say is a summary of estimated income and how it will be spent over a defined period. Davis Chan, kindly stop writing on the screen. Thank you. So we talked about budgeting, and budgeting is basically showing your money where to go, right? So a summary of estimated income. From the budget tracker, we saw the various, we saw how we can list where the money is coming from. So that estimated income, where will it go? Again, this is money game. Money coming in, money going out, right? So budgeting, this amount goes here, this amount goes there. And it's actually in the last sentence very well, telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went, That is, you wake up and you're like, I thought I had money in my account, where has it gone to? Yeah, so we'll talk about the steps to budgeting, and the first one will be to create a budget beforehand, right? So this is advice that if maybe you are employed and I receive money on the 27th or on the 30th or on the 4th, actually creating a budget a week before the money comes in, so that when the money comes, there's usually an excitement, and in that state, you're not sober, and you're likely to maybe overspend or put money where it was not meant to go, or overspend. So that's why we talk about creating a budget beforehand. And with that, you need to review your financial goals. And before I even go to that, in creating a budget, you need to do it. If maybe you get your income on a weekly, let's say on a monthly basis, you need to review your budget on a monthly basis, right? Because no month is the same. Maybe this month had emergencies, the next month I don't really have much going on. So you see, my budget will be different, right? So again, reviewing, so it's going to be different, and that's why we need to review our financial goals. What's my financial goal this month? Maybe I was to put aside $100, $100 US for this month, and then the next month 150, the other month 200. So constantly reviewing, have I been able to achieve what I had set out for this month? If not, how can I integrate it into the next month so that I'm on track? And also we need to estimate the amount of income by source. This could be maybe I got a raise, maybe I started a new business. So the flow of money, inflow of money has changed, right? And then, and so once I know my goals and I know my income, that does not mean now I raise my standard of living, right? Because remember, when you have a goal, your mindset will be finding ways to channel more money into that goal to achieve it, right? So, and so in budgeting, again, I will need to at least all expenses and amount needed for each one. We have talked about months being different. Things happen in this month that will not happen to that month. So it will be varying. Yes.
Someone is asking on the chat box, what do you mean by pay yourself first?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Thank you for noticing that. So we are on the steps, right? So once you know, once you list your expenses, make sure that they are not more than your income. Then going back to review and adjusting as needed. In this case, depending on how frequent your money comes with, let's say this is a basic example of salaried people. If you know your money comes at the end of the month, budget a week prior to the money coming in, right? And also in budgeting, you need to understand that every month won't be the same. I think I have touched on that. Things happen, right? Some good, some bad, some that will require more money, some will require less money. Some months will be flat. You're not really putting money out apart from the constant bills. So understanding that months are very different. Budget using the money you will get for sure and not money you hope and wish you will get. Don't budget on. My friend told me they'd send me a lunch of $200. So I will use that money to pay my rent. Let's be realistic and budget the money that because I'm employed. My employer pays at this time, so I can make a budget using this money. Okay, and then now we go back to the question of paying yourself first. So in financial management, there's in starting the savings journey, there's a principle called paying yourself first. And this basically means in all the income that you get, you can set aside 10% or 20% of that amount to yourself. And this could be, I'm setting 10% of maybe the $200, and I'm going to put it in a savings account. I'm going to put it in an investment account. That is money that will get to show the fruits of my work, right? Because remember, the thing about money, as soon as money lands, it will go out. Paying yourself first ensures that you have money that will show that you actually put effort or you worked for something, and those are the fruits of it, right? So what I usually do is when money comes, personally, I usually set 10% for tithe. That is for God, right? And I also set 10% for myself. I am paying myself. And dependent on where I am financially, enough, I will put it into savings until it reaches that target, and I will be able to invest it. Remember, I want to reap the fruits. The fruits can be short term. If I'm maybe using a money market, they can be mid term, they can be long term if I use maybe things such as bonds, right? So pay yourself first. Just as you pay to God, also remember to pay yourself. It can be 10%, it can be 15%, 20%, and this is determined by how much you're making and your expenses. The mandatory bills and the mandatory bills. But these things are a must. And when I say mandatory, like rent, you need to live in a place, so things such as rent. But before you get to that, Just as you ensure 10 goes to God, you also have your 10 that goes to you. And then you decide which vehicle will you use. And then we'll go to tracking your spending. Again, we have talked about the budget tracker. I hope we have covered that adequately. And then focus on progress over perfection. So that means just building with discipline. And that's why I'm really emphasizing on starting now with what you have and where you are, right? We are focusing on the progress. This month I've been able to do this. The previous month I was able to do this. So I'm seeing progress, small as it is, there is progress. Sorry, and the next thing that we're going to talk about is the daily cash tracking. So I think it applies to everyone, whether you get your money at the end of the month, whether you're working for wages. So that means you go work, you get paid at the end of the day, you go work the following day. But at the end of the day, even if I'm salaried, there's money that you're using on a daily basis. There's money that you're using for transport, for food, maybe you're giving your family and all those things. So this can be used this is a very simple tool that you can use to see where your money is going, right? And as you see it, there's date, there's the starting cash, the income, savings, expense, and ending cash. So let's take, for example, Monday. I have been paid and I have put, let's talk about, I want to use US dollars. So let's talk about maybe 100 US dollars for this month. And so I can put Monday 100 US dollars, right? And as we start this Monday, I have side business that day it will bring me 50 US dollars. I can put that there. It can be maybe a friend decided to buy me lunch. That's not part of like my salary. That's money that is unexpected that I hadn't planned for that. So I will put it under the income, right? Because those things happen. So out of that, I have decided I will put my savings as 10%. So I need to deduct it from my starting cash and the income that I have gotten from. Kindly mute. Thank you. Maybe my percentage of savings is 10% out of the money that I have from my different streams of income, right? Expenses. So I have used this amount for food. I have used this amount for transport, for data, for calling someone and all that you list under expenses and you put the total here. That you also minus, because minus means money out. So at the end of the day, I started with this, I got this I put in my savings, this I used for my daily expenditure, this is the cash that I have remaining. So the amount that you have at the end of Monday will be your starting cash on Tuesday. I hope you understand, so that you can be able to move forward. I feel this is a very simple daily cash tracking tool, and it helps us to understand how do I use my money, what are my money habits, and what can I do to change. You might find, and we're very guilty, especially in this expense column, you find maybe I bought gum, I was bored, I bought soda, I was bored, I bought a hot dog, and you think they're small monies, but when you add it up, you find so much money is coming to the expense column. So it helps you again to know, maybe I can set aside a certain amount so that in case maybe I know this is for lunch, this is for breakfast, you're getting to know where is your money going, so you can cover those loopholes so that you are able to increase the amount of money that you're saving and investing. I hope you understand the tool. Okay, so this is a daily cash tracking tool, and it helps us to understand where our money is going to, so that we're able, again, we've talked about managing our finances so that we're able to live within our means and get out of the debt culture. That's one of the benefits of using it. And so now we'll go to, I have all these tools. I really have a desire to be financially stable. I even have a budget, but remember, my habit has been impulse buying. So now what can I do to enable me to stay within this budget that I have been very, I have really put myself out there to create and to understand. And that's why, as we started, I was talking about having a goal. But before we even go to the list, one of the things I'd like to say, it's important to have a goal because your goal serves as a motivation for you to stay in your financial plan. Okay, so we can talk about reminding yourself often what you planned to spend. Again, this I'll really tie it to the goal. Why am I doing this? So because I said I want to own a car in the next 2 years, and this is how I'm going to get it. I need to stick to this budget because following it will help me achieve that goal that I have set in the next 2 years that I have broken down that I need to set this amount every month. Okay. Um, what also helps is putting in the budget something for unexpected needs, spending it. So we can put it as miscellaneous because we have said no month is the same. Things can happen that are very different. And so having some money set aside for the same will help us to stay within the budget. And the other thing can help us is putting savings out of reach so that you do not spend them. Because I mean, if you put your savings in a handbag or a wallet that you use daily, it's easy for you to take that money and use it, right? So you can look at investment vehicles. For example, do I need to open a savings account? Do I need to remove that money out of my current account? Because I will just withdraw it and I won't even notice. Maybe I need to have another account, a savings account for my savings. And also we have talked about keeping track of what you spent, and with that, this too can be of help. Make sure you do not spend for more than what is budgeted. The whole point is to build that discipline, right? And if you find yourself that maybe you've gone to the supermarket and well, inflation is real, we have talked about it, and you find the amount you have put for a certain item is high and you really need that item, that means for the next item that you're going to pick, you're going to look for a price that is slightly lower so that you do not affect your budget. Um, the other thing, we can make a list of ways to cut planned expenses. We can get your family to participate and developing and sticking with the budget. And this is important in involving maybe if you're married, your spouse, and also your children, because then again they get to understand the goal. Remember, we're talking about the goals. So once a person understands why you're doing what you are doing, they're able to support you, right? So your wife will not ask for outings every other Saturday because they know that will take money away and we will not have enough to invest for a given goal, for example, right? And finally, when you invest in money in business, consider what to do if the business fails. Again, this is what I talked about, having the creativity to look around you and the resources. This I really came about, especially tap into the skills that they had been sleeping on, and they have used them to make money even now, right? And when we were talking about the first two, was it the tracking? What do you call it? The monthly budget tracker. Let me just to go to that slide. I said we'd come back to this. So in the budget tracker, on top there was the 50, 30, 20% rule, and that's the budgeting rule of thumb. So what that basically means is 50% of all your income goes to mandatory bills and expenses. Wants are things that you cannot do without, you cannot live without. 30% goes to your savings. We have said saving is putting your money aside, investments, putting your money to work, debt repayments. We understand that, right? And then 20% goes to our wants, entertainment, givings, and miscellaneous. So I'm hoping by the end of this session, we won't have people in the group saying, I'm not taking my girlfriend out. There's somebody who kept saying that. So you can put that at the 20%. You can take the money for that from the 20%, which you have put your wants, your entertainments, your givings, and miscellaneous, right? And this makes financial planning fun. because you have taken into account all the things that you enjoy doing. So you're not feeling locked out, you're not feeling tied to a specific place, right? You have the freedom to make decisions. That's the whole point. And I had shared a few resources which are going to be shared. So we have the monthly budget track, we have the daily tracker, we can find finance app. There's somebody in the group who had posted of an app they had downloaded from the Google Play. So we have very many tracking apps, planning apps, even on Google Play. You can also, go to YouTube and they're able to then break it down on how to go about it. So these are some of the resources that are available freely to all of us. And even as we go to savings, I'd like for 2 volunteers, a man and a woman, to tell us what they think savings are. And the rest of us, you can even continue chatting on the chat box. Let's have 2 volunteers. What do we think savings are? Silas, you can help me out.
That's fine. I can see Jackson. Jackson's hand is up. Jackson, you can unmute. Anyone else? Christopher? Christopher, unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. So there's some background
Thank
noise
you
where
very
you
much.
are.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. So I think savings are the money that we keep aside for future use. For example, the lady mentioned it earlier on, maybe being it the money that we save for, maybe when we retire, we will need that money when we retire for some of us who are working class, or maybe we are saving it for education purpose. Maybe we want to further in our education, so we save that money. Maybe we'll use it maybe in the time that we are expecting to use that money. I think this is what we mean by saving, the money you keep aside for future use. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. That has been a wholesome explanation of the same. And so just as you have said, we'll talk about that being money that is put away in the present for use in the future. That is setting money aside. And we can say that saving is building assets, because remember, we have said we are attaching a goal to everything that we are doing, right? So maybe I was not able to facilitate that. Just the example, again, I'm using the Kenyan example, and I'm hoping again we're able to apply that in the different environments that you're in. So for example, me normally bonds, apart from like a Makiba, with the bonds, I need maybe 100,000 to start investing. Maybe I can only save 1,000 per month. So that means because I have a specific vehicle, I have to start putting money aside to reach the amount and invest in vehicle that I want. That's a group work, but still a time living habits or practice. We have talked about making a budget, and I've talked about it can be weekly, it can be monthly. As to you pick that and run with it, right? Stick to your saving plan. When you create that financial plan, you know these are my expenditure, this is the amount I'm saving, this is the amount I'm giving, this is the amount I'm paying for mandatory bills with. Stick to that, okay? And also have a certain amount set aside for miscellaneous or emergencies, so that in case anything comes up, you're able to use that money that you have put in miscellaneous. And another thing, especially this goes to the ladies, yeah. If you don't need it, don't buy it. Imagine it can be peer pressure of everybody has this type of shoe, everybody has this type of clothes. I feel I'm being left out. You know, that's not an emergency. You can live without, because let me use fashion because it's something that you can all relate to. Is it fades? There's always something new that's coming, right? So again, remember we are cultivating a discipline. I don't really need this. I can do without, right? Or if I can find it at a place with lower prices or with a discount, I'd rather do that other than for my friends to see I actually shop in a given mall or in a given shop. Again, if you don't spend money that you think you should put that money on the side for later use, don't just spend money because you have maybe you got a bonus that you are not expecting.
I think
Hello.
Mercy,
Can
are
you
you in?
hear me?
Okay,
Hello.
you can carry on. Hi, Mercy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can carry on.
Hello. Silas?
I
Hello.
can hear you. You can carry on, please.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I am
Please
not
comment in the
replaying.
chat. Okay, thank you. There's somebody who's speaking. I don't know whether it's a comment or the note. If I can't hear me, you can. Hello. Salas?
Yes, Mercy.
Hello. I think I might have to change my internet. So as I do that, kindly can you help me in breakout rooms? I'd like for us to actually do this group work as I sort the internet thing.
You can just project the group
Can you
work.
see my screen?
No,
Oh, sorry.
kindly project the group work,
Okay.
and then we can break out for like 10 minutes, members.
Actually, 5. Yes. Yes. Can you see my
Okay.
screen?
Yes, I can. I believe everyone else can.
Yes.
How many groups, Mercy?
That's okay. How many are we in the session?
We are 51, 50. Let me say.
So maybe 5 groups of 10
That's
approximately. Okay, thank you. Let me try and change my network.
so. Kindly take note of the question. Make a list of some good spending and saving practices. So it's just a matter of coming up with a list of spending and saving practices. So we'll break into 5 groups of 10 members each. And in those groups, kindly just take some time and list those things. And at the end, we will have one member of the group sharing with us what you have discussed in those particular groups. So once you get a notification to join a breakout room, kindly do so. Join the room that will be posted in, so that you can be able to take part in the discussion. Yes, so let me work on the rooms. We'll have about 7 minutes for this, so kindly take note of the time. Make sure you finish within that particular the given time. Take note of the question, because once we go to the groups, you may not be able to see the question again. Take note of the question. Make a list of some good spending and savings practices. That's it.
Hello, team.
Hi, Silas. So I see some people in the main group. I see Jandi. Maybe you can assign him. I think we have maybe 3 minutes.
Yes, I can see there is one person. Okay. Is your network okay now?
Please tell me whether it's okay. I might need to switch again. Can you hear me?
Your background is, I think, another problem.
Today the electricity decided that I'm not going to enjoy the session as much as last time.
Yeah,
But I'm here because
pole for that.
it's dark. I can see.
Pole.
It's okay. How's the session so far?
So far so good.
Ni changamoto za maisha. Aha.
So far so good. Oh, the breakout rooms are closed, so everyone is
Almost coming. Okay, and then
Mhm.
because I have dropped a couple of times, I want to see whether I can finish by like 4:30, and I've not seen the question, so you can let me know any questions.
Okay.
Because I've dropped out, so I can't see the questions. That's okay.
That's okay.
Let me share my screen. Thank you.
Unless then you are developing.
Hello, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. So as we are joining because of time, I first start. Davis, that's you. Hello, Davis.
Yes. Sorry.
Can,
I had forgotten to unmute.
yes.
Yeah.
You can represent your group, or you can choose the. You can actually let us know who is representing your group.
Yeah. I'm not seeing Gadmai. Where are you? Yeah, Gadmai was supposed.
Yeah, Davis.
Yeah, is Gadmai getting me? Because
Yeah, I'm getting you. Yeah.
Yeah, Gadmai
Yeah,
get on
so-
with we were in the same group.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I think although our group were only like 3 of us were the one discussing, we managed to grab what we can as the group representative. And in brief, the list of good spending and saving practices that we agree as a group, one of it is you'll have to eliminate the debt. You need not to have a lot of borrowings, because when you borrow a lot, you'll not be able to save, for instance. Then second thing is by setting the saving goals, you'll have to have a goal when you're saving. Why do you save? What is the purpose of you saving? What do you do with your saving afterward? Maybe you'll have a lot of money in your saving account, and at the end you don't have a plan to do with the saving that you have. Then again, you'll have to pay yourself first, because when you are saving, you make sure you save yourself before you save. That is one of the good means of spending or saving practice. Then the other one is, for instance, when you are smoking, you need not to smoke, or you cannot do it regularly. For instance, you'll have to plan for it, do it. Maybe if you smoke like more than 3 days, you can make it 1 or half a day. Maybe you can do that. Then the other one is like you'll have to do some kind of personal goals, life goals, that you need to at least put in place, so that you'll be able to achieve what you want. Then that is all we agree upon. Then lastly, the action point now. When you save, you will have to come to the action point of implementing the 7 goals that you said before. Then I think that is all we agreed as a group, and thank you so much.
Wow, virtual hand claps to your group. You have really done it so well. So we'll have the last group. Unfortunately, not all groups will present, but you can type out what you are able to discuss in the group, in the chat, and also in the WhatsApp group, so that you're all able to learn. So we can have the second group. I see Samuel Lokula, you can go.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Samuel Okule. I'm representing Group 4. We are with those of Malia Mongo, Joyce, and the rest. And based on our discussion, we came with two things. That is the needs and the wants. And then by defining the needs, these are basic things that one cannot do without. And then the ones, these are the desires that can be optional. At any time when you mention, like, if you don't make it, you can leave it. So we come up with our list of some good spending practices. One of it is we need to do recharge on the current prices of the items or what you have to do. And then you need to have with a shopping list. We need to pay our bills in time. We need to allocate our money or the budget. And then we need to spend wisely on what cannot, like the ones that we can do without. We need to look into them critically. And then we need to assess what we have at hand and what we cannot manage. And then we need to review our budget. And then when we come to saving practices, we know saving is saving money aside. And then we realize where we can save. We came up with the places where people usually save money. But again, regardless of where we're saving, we need to know the risky factors of where we're saving our money. Is it in the same place or not? For instance, like the banks, are we in position to get access to the banks? What are the risky, the bank places? So that we come with a good saving policy, even the saving groups, the small one where we're saving at homes with our family members, with our community members. I will find that even saving in animals, people can buy animals and they say, this is my saving. And then the circles. And then finally, we came to know that even saving in mobile money, like using mobile phones for saving, this can be some of the good practice, but one have to decide wisely on where you can save based on because all these having the negative and the positive. So which one can we afford as an individual that we can save? And this way we realize saving practices we can apply in all this by knowing the challenges and the cost of it. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that. And I upload both groups. Unfortunately, will not be able to go to all groups. But just to touch on what people have talked about, there's one who talked about smoking. So I'll give an example, a live example that I know of someone who enjoys, a drink or two here and there. And so once they've got to align their goals, and again, remember we said that this is a journey, not a destination. So they decided and said, for every bottle of beer that I'm taking, I'm putting, let's say, for example, if that bottle was $2, I'm also setting $2 aside from in my savings account, right? So if I'm taking 4 bottles or 5 bottles, and that is $10, I give the waiter $10 and I transfer $10 to my savings account. You see, so remember, it's not a one shoe fits all. Find what works for you and apply, right? Good. And so just moving on with the presentation, we okay, just allow me to move this to the side. Yes, so we've been able to touch on a few, and you've also added on most of the things that you're going through and how you think you can handle a situation. And that's why I really enjoy group work, because we get to understand different perspectives of people, right? So I'm hoping we can continue with this conversation even beyond this discussion. We have a very vibrant WhatsApp group. Continue to share your thoughts and people will come in and contribute, and you'll be able to get different ways you can actually do it. You can actually do it, right? So we have really talked about a lot here. And I think I was on the third last point, which is even saving a small bit of a small bit of money is better than saving nothing. Napoleon Hill, in his book Think and Grow Rich, says, if your aim is, what does he say? If you not have a plan, whatever comes, because you didn't have a plan, whatever comes is something because you didn't have a plan in the first place, right? So put aside that small money, that money you think it's small, it will serve you. And I think one thing that helps me, because personally I have really been struggling to understand why I need to save for retirement at an early age, is the time value of money, and the compounding interest of money. So I understand even if I put a small amount of money, the compounding effect of money will ensure that I have, like, the time value of that money is preserved because of the interest. Remember, inflation reduces the value of money, right? But then when it is compounding, it is able to maintain its value and it will be relevant in years to come. So I hope we can again continue to research and see and understand better and see what works for us. And then we'll talk about keeping records of how much you've actually saved and spent every day. See, we have two tools for that. We have the daily tracker and then we have the monthly one. So I'm really hoping we'll start with these two tools and we'll be able to develop the discipline. And finally, look at your spending habits and determine how you can cut them down so that you can save more. And I purposed to say, if I drink 5 bottles of beer for $10, I'm also putting $10 aside. That's okay. Yeah. And so somebody who had talked about, those small groups of saving. We in Kenya we call them right? Or maybe we look at different ways to save, and we will start with a commercial bank. And again, you have a business or you're employed, you know that you can actually still use the same bank as a tool or a vehicle for saving. And I had talked about having a savings account. So that's a fixed account whereby that money is not easily accessible, but you are able to negotiate with your with the bank that you're saving with on a fixed interest rate. So your money is not just sitting there, but is about inflation and the time value of money. So there are people who say, me, I want to see my 10,000 US, but it won't be able to buy as much as it did maybe a year or 2 years back. So putting it in a vehicle that will, from it you will be able to get some reap. Let's talk about reaping, or get some fruits that you're living in, and that's why we're talking about looking at an investment vehicle, and that will be determined by how soon or how liquid do you want your money to be. So one of the first ways we talk about is the commercial bank, and you can have a savings account with them. We have savings and loan association, also call them the self-help groups, and you find them of the group, which you can invest on this and you can hold how it is and it is entity. For example, in Kenya, you know, they're regulated by the CMA. So that is also another Hello.
Yes, Mercy. We lost you at some point.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh my, I'm so sorry about that. So sorry. Today the internet has decided to work against my favor. So, but I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, yes.
Tell us.
Yes,
Okay.
Mercy.
So that's okay. Thank you for that. And so the other option that we have is the mobile banking. And again, I'm using Kenyan examples, and I hope that you're able to, relate them with our real time examples in wherever space you are at. So in Kenya, we have M-Pesa, and we have options in M-Pesa such as M-Shwari. So I can get money and send a bit to my M-Shwari account or my locked savings account, which can also serve like the bank's savings account, because that money I can't get it easily. There are people who opt for home savings. And I don't know, me, I have one, having a team, so that the change that you get from buying things, we just drop them in that. That can also be a form of, to buy, just drop them. And livestock are also assets that are used as a way to save, because you can sell the livestock and get your money, plus profit. Same goes for land. Okay, so it doesn't have to be cash, it can be in form of tangible assets, right? And so for the next slide, you're going to touch on the rule of thumb to saving. And this, I really hope that from this slide, everybody gets just one thing that they can run with from this session, okay? And the first one is to save as soon as you earn. Don't say, let me first pay for this, let me do this. The way I know that you put 10% aside for God, 10% or 15% or 20% is I'm paying myself, right? So put that amount immediately, because if you don't, a need will come that will require you to spend that money. Okay, so they say don't save after spending, right? You save and then you spend. And that goes to the second point, where you can try to save between 10 and 20% of your income. Again, this is no like one, it's not a one shoe fits all. You can be staying at your parents' home, so you don't have many expenses to deal with. You can increase the percentage of your income that you're going to save. Again, look at your situation and circumstances. Don't carry a lot of cash, because when you have cash, there's this, notion that, I have money, I can buy it. I have money to splash. So when you have a budget, you are able to know, I will need this amount of money for this, and I know how much cash I need to carry. Don't over carry, because you'll spend it all. It's human nature to do that. We had also talked about it previously, keeping your savings out of reach in a safe place. A place that you're not seeing the money, but a place where your money is also secure, right? So we have talked about a different investment vehicle, saving vehicles here. You can pick the one that is most conducive for you. And then also remembering that good savings behavior requires discipline. We have said it is a journey and not a destination. So remember that we are focusing on the progress, and in the progress, we are building the discipline, right? And it goes to the next point that talks about discipline is learned through practice. Don't procrastinate. The moment you start and continue, you're able to practice discipline. And the final point is spending carefully, and you can only spend carefully if you know what amount is going where. So again, having a budget will help you with that. And I end this with a quote that says that financial freedom does not happen by mistake. It happens by design. You have to plan for it. If you want to reach your financial goals, you have to plan for them and then develop the discipline of sticking through with them. So it is by design, not by mistake. And I end this slide, the presentation for savings by this call to action. What do you want your money to do for you? And this again goes with your goals. What are my financial goals? Where do I aspire to be in this year? By the end of this year, you know, what do I aspire to have done in my life, in the life of my family, in the next 5 years? So again, if you're having a notebook, this is a very important question that you can be asking yourself periodically. What do you want your money to do for you? And this slide just talks about the different ways that money can work for us. Maybe I want to save more, right? What can I do to save more? Maybe I need to open a savings account. I need to decide how much to save and start. Maybe I want to invest more. Do I know the investment options that I have? How much money do I want to put in those vehicles? And then I start, right? I want to track my spending. We have talked about different tools and resources that you can use for that. And so the main point is to start doing less talk and more action, right? And so with that, we will go now to our next presentation, and it's going to be investments. We have said that savings is putting money aside, and we'll talk about investment as putting your money to work, right? And so an investment, we will say, is an asset. Sorry, we'll say an investment is an asset or item acquired with the goal of generating income or appreciation. So you're putting your money, you're putting your effort, you're putting your time into something that will bring you a profit. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
There's some
Yes,
background noise.
Yes,
Okay,
we hear
yes,
you.
there's some buzz. Okay, so at this point, my environment has changed again, so I need to switch. So maybe we can go into the same breakout rooms that we were in, Silas, and an investment in. We can take the next 5 minutes to discuss what are the investment vehicles that we know of. That's okay, Silas?
Maybe you can project the question.
I need to type it out in the slide, in the chat box, because it's not part of the slides, if that's okay. But basically it's from the investment, and we are discussing, let me just type it out. What are, right? I'm typing it in the chat box. What is, that's okay?
You can type the question, and then we can break out into the rooms.
Where, that's it. I hope you can see it.
Yes, yes.
Stella?
Yes.
So the question is in the chat box. I want to switch my environment once more so we can break into the rooms and just see where we are at, the knowledge that you have in terms of investment vehicles, so that you can just wrap around what we know, if that's okay.
That's okay. So guys, again,
Okay,
we
thank you.
get into the breakout rooms. The question is in the chat box, but I'll also broadcast it for you. Somebody is asking. Somebody is asking whether you mean the real vehicle.
Yes, so when we talk about vehicles, we're talking about what are the investment options. You know, what are the different options available in the market that I can put my money in that will bring me a return. I hope that's understood. Silas, I hope that's understood. Or somebody can type in the chat box.
So basically what you mean are the investment options.
Yes, that's what I mean. Hi, Silas.
Hi, Mercy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Shida iko wapi leo?
Well, leo, but it is well. Na unaniona? Ama nisonge?
Na kuona vizuri.
Iko poa? Sasa inaweza songa nikingoja. How many minutes do I have?
50 minutes.
Sorry?
50 minutes. It's for 10.
No, for like breakout rooms. That's what I'm asking for now.
Breakout rooms were 7 minutes. Probably right now they have done 2 minutes. We have 3.5 minutes remaining.
Okay, so I just want to get like feedback okay, najua leo imekuwa na interruptions, but I hope the session like imeflow, imeweza kushikanisha. Ina make sense?
Hey, your network imeleta shida sana. People are not flowing.
For real?
Yeah, it's either
Na inaniambia strong. Juu hata nashangaa.
It's either you are breaking or you are thrown out or something else. But anyway, it's fine. I think those are technology challenges which are part of these such trainings.
Na sahi? Iko afadhali ama hakuna difference?
That's better.
Iko afadhali? Let's hope the remaining minutes haitani disappoint, but we are almost done because ni hiyo investment. Unaona screen yangu?
Hapana.
Okay. Ndio imeniambia can't share. Ilikuwa imeniambia can't share juu umeweka hizo rooms, but let me try and project. Na project. Actually, I'm projecting. Why is it doing this?
I'm not able to see.
Okay.
Yes, now I can see it.
So because we are just touching on this investment vehicles and inflation and you're done. I'm hoping to do that in the next like few minutes. Maswali ni mob ama ndio nijue venye nitaenda.
Unajua maswali itakuja at the end, so hizi zenye ziko hapa hata
ukiangalia.
Nasema maswali hizi ziko hapa ni kidogo. What I'm saying is many questions will come up at the end.
Will come after the session.
Yeah.
Okay, sawa. So maybe 10-15 minutes for Q&A. 10-15 minutes for Q&A.
Bora we finish at 5. The time
the content.
Play around with.
Sawa. How many minutes to go for the breakout?
25 seconds.
Okay.
Hello, request.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello and welcome back. We can have the first two groups present and then we can continue. We can have the first two groups present
Okay.
and then the session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is everyone getting me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we're
can.
getting you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the chance. First of all, it's
on off.
you're not getting me clearly?
I can hear you. You can continue, Davis.
Yeah, we have the few we got in the that are working in the context of South Sudan, because we got that majority of the investment vehicles are actually not accessible in South Sudan here. So I will just mention the few, and also I need to disclaim that I'm not from a business background. So if you may hear something that is not appropriate business-wise, just forgive me. It's okay. So we got bonds. Those are many types of investment vehicles. So one of them is bonds, and we got stocks, and in the context of South Sudan, maybe real estate can apply here, and exchange traded fund, and we also got commodity, which is what majority of us are trading on, and there is so many of them I don't know them. I have to be honest. So those are the few I got. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We can have the next group continue. That was well done. We can have the next group as well.
Gloria is supposed to be the one representing our group, but of course. Hello, Gloria.
You can present on her behalf. It's the same group, right?
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. We discussed in length about about investment areas. One of it is we talked about real estate. Yeah, our member said in Juba, now there are a number of youth who are interested now to be independent. They are finding they want houses for rent and what. So it is important if you can get for yourself a house and you put that on rent, really you can get a lot of money. Then secondly, about agriculture, South Sudan is one of the countries that really imports most of the agricultural foods. That includes tomatoes, onions, cabbages, and even other things. So if you can invest in farming, in spite of the fact that there's insecurity, but of course, you can really try your level best to invest in that, and you can get really good returns. Then finally, I don't want to really take a lot of time because we have very many that we cannot really mention all. Finally, is about higher institutions of learning. Like investing in a university in South Sudan, specifically in Juba, because our students end in senior 4, so you find there are very many, they cannot be accommodated with the only universities we have in South Sudan. So if you can invest in a university, really you can really get some returns, because the number of students that we have are really very many that cannot really be accommodated in the few that we have. So those are some that I can really share. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing. And I like that you're very specific to your context. Remember, again, we said the information, the principles are the same, but in order to break through, you need to translate them to your current situation and see what will work well for you. So I love that you have been able to see that, for example, real estate is something that can work for you in Juba. And so again, now aligning that to your goals. Is it something that I want to do? Is it a goal? How is it attached to my goals? Or do I want to do it because that's where the money is, right? We have talked about that. And so, as I had mentioned earlier, when we talk about investment vehicles, it's not like a literal vehicle. I remember there's somebody who had asked that. So we are talking about what investment options do I have? What investment options are around me? And how can I use them to my advantage to achieve my financial goals, right? And the quote that ends this slide, it says, to be more, we must become more. And we are becoming more by identifying the problems that are around us and becoming a solution around them. That's okay. And before we go to why, we shall come to why we should invest, but we'll start with the savings and the investment vehicles, right? And we'll start with equities. And I know somebody has talked about bonds, right? So I understand that that's an option that you can consider for most of you. And it sounds like a big thing, right? So when I say equity, I'm basically talking about shares. You own a piece of a company. Equity in its simplified forms. These are shares in a company. So when I say equities, I say shares, I say stocks, we're talking about the same thing. And when I say I own equities of, for example, KCB is in South Sudan, right? So it means I own a part of KCB. Basically, that is what equities are. And we can categorize equity into two forms. We have public equities and we have private equities. So the bonds and the shares that are listed in the stock exchange to the public, those are the public equities. The private equities will deal with, shares from a company that is not listed in a public stock exchange, right? So you're buying directly from the private institute or the private company. But when you talk about public equities, they are open to the public to buy shares according to their financial muscle. I am trying to talk about this in the simplest form so that if ever somebody asks you, like, what are equities, you don't have to tell them I don't have a BCom background. It's as simple as those are shares. It's the piece that you own in a company. and then we'll come to treasury bonds and treasury bills, and I understand they're also presently available for you as well because they deal with the government, right? So this is basically the government borrowing money from its people, right? So they need money, and they come to the public and they say, hey, can you give me your money, and I will give you this money at a fixed interest rate, right? So when we come to them, we will realize that you have the bonds and the bills, and the difference between the two of them. So T-bills are short term. You can have them for 3 months, you can have them for 6 months, and you can have them for 1 year. When it supersedes a year, then now we'll be talking about T-bonds. When you talk about T-bonds, it's treasury bonds. I hope you understand that. We can also talk about corporate bonds. So it's also the same, only that now it's not the government that it's asking the public for money. It is a corporate institute that is working the same as the government, but in this specific instance, they are specified on the bonds. So what we have talked about bonds is they are long-term investments. They take time, right? So when you put your money, it will be in that specific bonds for 1 up to 20 years, right? But when you take a treasury bill, you're going to choose the amount of time. Kindly mute your mics. You're going to choose the amount of time that you want the government to have your money. When you're talking about the bond, it can either be with the government or with a private company, right? And when it comes to corporate bonds, you need to realize that they offer a high interest rate. And this is basically because they offer higher returns. Remember, a corporate can go down. Let's look at it from the instance of the government. You know, when you give your money to the government, the thing you're assured of is stability, right? But with corporate bonds, you never know. A company can be liquidated and you can easily lose your money. So because of the high risk that is associated in investing in them, you are assured of higher returns than it will be with the government. Again, you see, these are very many options, and you do want to be able to realize I can invest, I cannot maybe invest in corporate bonds because my concerned about my financial security. So I cannot invest in a vehicle that is high risk. You get? So again, you just don't jump at any, but you go back to what is my financial goal. It helps you to decide on what vehicle is best for you. And in also fixed deposit account, we have talked about banking institutions and we have talked about savings account. So the money is there, you cannot easily access it. Maybe you can withdraw twice in a year, you know, or you need to fill out so many forms before you get your money. So that discourages you from withdrawing your money. That's one of the fixed deposit account. And you can also talk about the time period of when your money is there. So the longer it is, the higher the interest payment. And so this comes also with the compounding effect when you get the interest, but you do not withdraw the interest, but you also put it back with the principal amount. So the interest amount continues to grow. And we'll talk about the compounding effect. And I'm really keen on this because I believe it's one way we can all start, and that's why it's an entire slide. And one of the benefits of this is they prevent one from misusing their savings and future investment funds, right? We have said I might want to invest in a specific vehicles, but I do not have all that money. So where do I start? I will start with saving the little that I have. So when I reach the amount that I need, I can put them in the investment vehicle. So I won't misuse that saving because the process that I will go through to get that money, I'd rather just leave it to stay there, right? So it also helps to foster discipline and healthy money habits. You develop the, you know, it's in you, like 10% has to go to that savings account. You're developing a discipline, right? And also another investment vehicle can be property. And you have talked about real estate in South Sudan. You have touched about universities. That's an avenue that you can really look at. But then again, asking yourself, why? Am I doing it because it's hot cake? Am I doing it because I have the money and the resources? Am I doing it because it will help me to achieve my financial goals, right? And I think what I can add on property is factors to consider. Like you look at the future development plans. You look at the demand in that area, because you can buy land and it will stay there. People are not interested in developing that area, so your land will just be there. So those are some of the things you can really research into when you want to get into property. And then also understanding that you investment is not just buying the land, because undeveloped land is not bringing you money that can be used. Again, looking at the whole idea. So when I buy this land, I want to build rental houses, so that from the rental houses I'm having a stable income, right? If my goal is financial freedom. So I will not only buy the land, but I will also invest in developing that land so that I'm able to get the. And so the other thing that we're going to talk about again is unit trust. And when we talk about unit trust, they have a desk for unit fund managers, whereby you're able to give them your money and they're able to invest it on your behalf, right? So you go maybe to Britam, you go to ICA Lion, you go to CIC. Those are banks that have a professional fund manager. You give them your money, you tell them, this is my risk appetite and these are the vehicles I'm comfortable with. You go, I want to see a return on my investment, right? And we also have money market funds, which can also be invested, which is also falls under unit trust, right? Money market fund is the money is easily liquidated. So you find that when an individual wants to have an emergency fund, one of the best vehicles to put your money is in a money market fund, because you can easily access your money at 20 years, or a T-bill where it's 3 months or 6 months or 12 months. You find that in most money market funds, you maybe need a day or two and you'll be able to get your money. Okay, so again, it goes back to the goal. What do I want, right? I want to have an emergency fund. What is the best vehicle for that for me, right? And also attaching that to the last presentation, I'd say one of the best investments that everybody in this room is going to become out of environment that works for you, so that when something comes, you're not just jumping into it because you have been promised, and that's how you find yourself. You're like in a pyramid scheme. But once you have the financial knowledge, you're able to make good, sober financial decisions. So I commend everybody that is in this meeting, because this is the investment that you're currently doing. You're investing in knowledge, you're investing in personal development. So it has to start from here, so that as you make your decisions, I am choosing this as my saving or my investing vehicle because it aligns to my goal, right? And these are just nuggets or things to consider as you invest. Do not invest because you are told, with land, it has a lot of money. No, invest where you understand the market. You cannot be, you can, maybe I'm in the medical field, I will choose to look at investment options within that field. Maybe I can open a clinic and expand it, right? Maybe I'm in the education sector, I can start a school because I have taught, I am a principal, right? So it is best to understand, to invest in a market that you understand, because you know the dynamics, right? You know how to handle the situations as they come. You cannot be duped in an environment that you are aware of, right? And one of the ways to understand a market is, again, put yourself in that environment, research, learn. we have YouTube, we have so many resources online. We always have options. The fact that you're here, the person that you have discussed with points in the group, that is a resource. People are resources. People can help you move from point A to point B. Your strengths, your God-given talents, you know, maybe I know how to sing, maybe I can play an instrument. How can I monetize that, right? Maybe I can use that to offer guitar lessons, right? So again, coming back to what do I have? You know, time is the greatest resource with money. And this ties with what we have talked about, inflation. If you do not invest your money now, the value of the money that you have continues declining. So time is a resource that if you do not use, you're going to pay for in now and also in the future, right? Your brand or your personal branding. How do people know you? How do you present yourself? And how can you use that to leverage on your network to get opportunities that will bring you money, right? And so in ending this slide, we'll talk about it doesn't come easy, not quick, but it comes. That financial freedom, it's going to take time. Remember, we said it's an entire journey. It's not a destination, but it will surely come. And so once we understand the different types of investment vehicles, we go back to, okay, so why then should I invest? And I hope this now will be simple because you're able to link your goals to it, right? We have talked about, I want to fulfill my financial goals. I want to save for retirement. I want higher returns on my money. Fulfill. You know, I can miss work for a month and my things will still. I want to create an impact to the community. So I will use my money to invest in upcoming talent. You know, maybe that's my goal, right? I want financial freedom, as I had talked about it. And I love the quote that is beneath it, being support financially, right? I want to fly to Bahamas. I can support that financially, live a lifestyle you value, you know, and contribute to a society in a way that has meaning to you. So it is not just accumulating money, but in it there's value and there's meaning and there's freedom. Okay. And so even as we move to the next slide, we're going to look at the considerations that you're going to make into everything because it is available. So I need to know why I'm investing, and why is your goal? What is my financial goal? So that I know my investment options, right? Know your investment time horizons. Again, this also touches with your age. What age group are you in? Determines the amount or the level of risk that you can choose to take, right? If I am younger, I can take more risks because I have time to recover. But if I am nearing retirement, I want to preserve my capital gain, right? So I cannot invest in high risk vehicles, right? Also know the cost. Again, we have said we're very different. The work we does gives us income in different, you know, levels and ways. So how much do I have, and what vehicle in line with my goal can I use in line with what I have? Don't break bank trying to be like the person next to you, right? And also my understanding of how, you know, the unit trust funds work. Remember, you can choose the high risk, you can choose the balance, you can choose the low risk. And then that's again touched to self-awareness. Where am I? So what risks am I willing to take, right? I hope that's okay. In case we have any questions on the same, please type them on the chat box. I want to wrap up so that you can go to the Q&A. And another thing that also comes in a lot is debt. You know, debt, and debt comes in many ways. It can be, you know, I want to please people, or I have an emergency. We want to understand debt and how we can get out of debt to experience financial freedom. Peter Gatworth, do you have a question? Your mic is on. Okay, thank you. So when we talk of debt, we talk about it being an obligation that requires one party to pay another party money or the agreed upon value and that's also to the creditor. So a debt is just the sum of money that is owed or that is due, right? What I need to pay.
Mercy, we are not even getting anything. Your network is really breaking. We are not getting anything really. Or I'm alone in this.
I'm actually not getting anything also. No.
I think all of us are not getting anything.
Sorry for that. I'm back.
I
No, I had
all of
left.
us.
I think Mas is not audible. Mas is not audible.
I'm back.
Hi, Matthew.
No, I had been kicked out. Silas?
I think you
Can you hear me now?
You can try disconnecting your video in case your bandwidth is not good. You can join without video. You can disconnect the video.
Okay. Let me just disconnect that. Silas, Pidas, or anyone, you can comment.
I think it's better.
It's better. Most as I see you say, I think I need a glass of water. But you can hear me now.
It's not easy talking for these hours. It can affect the network as well.
That's well understood. So if you guys can hear me, kindly confirm so that I can go on.
Yeah, at least we are
you
getting
can hear
you
me
now.
clearly? Awesome.
Yes,
So let me.
You're clear. You're clear.
Thank you. So let me keep my video off so that you can get on with the lessons. We are on handling debt, and the first thing we're talking about is understanding what the debt was used for. So if I understand that I was using the debt for the wrong issues, then I'm able to understand my mindset and my behavior financially. And that is important because it will help me to adjust to positive ways that I can handle my finances. I hope you understand really the first point is important. It ties to everything that we have talked about in this session. And in handling debt, once I understand that, the next thing that I need to be conscious of is refraining from taking loans, right? Because already I have a debt that has an interest attached to it. The more debts I take, the more loans I have with interest, and that's not a good thing, because if I default on payment in Kenya, you are blacklisted and you will not be able to take a loan for the next 7 years. I don't know whether that's the same situation in your country. You can put it on the chat box. Yeah. So again, it also gives you the mental pressure and paying your loan. So again, developing the discipline of avoiding taking unnecessary loans. In handling debt, again, you need to make sure that you're making the least payment on your loans to ensure that your credit record remains clean. Remember, again, if you default, you can be blacklisted. So you ensure, if you had agreed with your lender that you're going to be paying X amount, you can pay the minimum amount that will not put you in trouble. That is one of the best ways to handle clearing maybe one debt or multiple debts, minimum payment, just to ensure that they see that you put in the effort, right? And in case you get money from other streams of income or any unexpected money, put that money in your debts to reduce the principal, because remember they calculate the interest based on your principal. So if your principal is lower, the amount of interest that you're going to pay is also lower, and that works for the betterment of your pocket, right? Because you're paying a less amount. We have talked about minimizing borrowing, refraining from taking new loans, right? Also understanding that something has to give. So when you realize that your debts are overwhelming, again, we have an expense sheet, we have a budget tracking sheet. So we go back to where is money going to that maybe it doesn't need to, maybe I can cut on that for a while. Maybe I take vacations every month, or maybe I spend 20% on partying. I'm talking about because we are very young, so we like to splurge money. So do I need to cut on the amount of times that I'm going out, maybe on a Wednesday and also on a Friday and also on a Sunday, to maybe once, so that the extra money I'm able to, remember we are putting all that money to reduce the principal. Juru, you're saying something? Silas, can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Hello,
hear you, Mercy. You can carry on.
Okay, so maybe you can
Let me
mute
mute
Juru, because I thought she was, yes, because I thought somebody was asking. Okay, and then the final thing is to get comfortable
I'm asking you a question. I have a question. I raise my hand.
That's okay. We'll get to the questions. Just we're about to finish. Just give it a few. That's okay. Yes, so the final thing will be to get comfortable with saying no. And this comes really hard, especially maybe if you have a family and when you have children and they want this, they want that, but constantly agreeing to what they want, which is not really a need, will affect your pocket. So it could be making them understand. And that's why we're saying even in the budgeting process, you can include your spouse and children so that they understand your financial goals and how you intend to get there. They'll be lenient on demanding for things because they know the financial goals that you are aspiring to. I hope that is well understood. And finally, this is something I have talked about from the onset, and that's inflation. And I think it's very important because it's happening globally. And we have said the global rate at the moment is about 9.6. Yes, that's the global rate. And when we talk about inflation, we're talking about the decrease in the purchasing power of money. So I might have $1,000, but putting it in the simplest way, the purchasing power has reduced, so I might not be able to get as much as I did with it previously. And how we can deal with inflation is, again, spending mindfully, and this can only happen if you have planned for it. I have a budget, so I'm able to practice me spending mindfully. How we can also deal with inflation is finding ways to increase our income. We have talked about side businesses, right? So what talents, what skills, what resources do I have that I can utilize to bring me more money? And then we can also invest our money, not just saving it, because once you put your money away, you will have the 100 USD, but the value has reduced. But when you put it in an investment vehicle, you get an interest on top of it, right? And in the event whereby items are really important, like you need to buy them, you can look for bargains, right? You can seek good sale deals, bonuses, and discounts, and that will help you save on your pocket. And then the final thing that we have just previously talked about, avoid debt. Remember, in debt, we have good debt and we have bad debt. Good debt is debt that you're taking for an investment that will bring you high or good returns, and it is not higher than the amount that you have actually the debt will be able to repay more than you have borrowed, so that you will be able to pay the debt and have something left, right? So that is good debt. Bad debt is debt that we use on having fun. It has no return, basically, right? And so I will come to the end with the quote that I started with, and I really desire that you all say it, that I can change my circumstances because I can change me. And you can only change you once you understand yourself, once you understand your financial habits. That's the first step to knowing what needs changing. And so these are just additional resources. That's a YouTube link. This slides will be shared, so you'll be able to click on the link. And these are just questions that will prompt you to, even as you begin and as you continue with the financial planning journey, questions you can ask yourself, even to redefine your financial goals, right? And so in this slide, we have YouTube channels, we have books that you can also buy, you can download or buy online, and you can be able, remember we have said the greatest investment is in self, so you can download them and you'll be able to grow your financial knowledge. And I want to say thank you for listening to me. And at this point, Silas, you can help me in the Q&A.
Thank you, Mercy, so much. And the members for taking your time to attend. I know it's been a long one. It's almost, we only have about 15 minutes to 3 hours. So I want us to use those 15 minutes to pick one or two questions. Let me see the chat box. If you have questions, we start with those ones, and then we can get to the questions. We can give people a chance to ask any questions that they have. So I'm looking at the chat box. Somebody's asking, what are the risks of investment? Another one is asking, let's be mute. I'm checking the questions. So there's that one on the risk of investment. Okay, I think from the chat box, somebody's asking what is NSE. I think this is a Kenyan example. So NSE is Nairobi Securities Exchange. It's for trading in stock, if I'm not wrong. Then someone is asking, how secure is investing in treasury bond? So Mercy, those are two questions. What are the risks of investment, and how secure is it to invest in treasury bonds? Another one is asking.
Maybe I can start with those two.
Okay, actually, those are the only two questions from the chat box. So do you want to address those ones before we give them opportunity to ask?
Yes. So if I understand correctly, the first one was risks in investment. Was that it?
Yes, that's correct. The risks of investment and how safe it is to invest in treasury T-bonds.
Okay, so I'll start with the first question. And one thing I need us to all realize is every investment poses a risk. And that's why we talk about their risks. We call them high risk investment that bring high returns, and we have low risk investments that bring low returns. So wherever you want to put your money in, you need to be assured that you can get your principal amount maybe less or more. And when it's more, that's when you talk about profit, and when it's less is when you're talking about losses. And the question in asking that, I think I'd go back and ask you, do you understand what your financial goal is? Because having understood that every investment has a risk, then I'd want to understand what are my goals, what are my financial goals, and what is my risk appetite, right? So that will inform the type of investment vehicles that I will take, right? So we go back to why. Remember, all have risks. It's just the level of risk that is different. So one thing that can help you refine that question more is, where do I want to go and what do I want from investing? It will help you sieve out the different types of vehicles to the one that suits you most, and do not be fooled into peer pressure and invest because many people are there. Do not be fooled to rush into an investment because you're trusting in the security of the numbers. Again, it's a personal business. So again, you doing the hard work, you doing the research, you determine this works for me because this. And a way to help you refine that will be asking yourself why. So what is my financial goal? I want to be rich. Maybe, for example, that's where I am. Why do I want to be rich? I want to be rich because I'll be able to pay for my children's school fees. I'll be able to pay for, trips abroad and all that. And then asking yourself why. You will eventually come to a conclusion of something maybe related to, financial freedom, right? And so that will make you think of investment options that, depending on your risk appetite, can bring you the returns within your specified time frames. Again, we have seen there's short, there's medium, and there's long. I hope that answers. So in asking about the type of risk, is first understanding all investments will have a certain amount of risk. So what is it you want out of this investment journey, right? And when we talk about treasury bonds, if I remember correctly, so one may consider it a disadvantage in that they are long term. Again, we have talked about them taking between 1 to 20 years. So that means you will not be able to access your money as easily as you'd want to. So treasury bonds are loved because they are secured, because this is the government that you're dealing with. So you'll be able to, there's something called capital preservation. You'll be able to preserve your capital and also make gains from your capital, right? But the other thing you also need to consider is, with such bonds, they have a fixed interest. So with them, you're not going to have a compounding interest. So it's, you invested $1,000, we will give you, and they have high interest rates. So maybe it can be even, there's a time in Kenya it was 13.1%, imagine. But then they will not add that interest to your principal amount, right? So you will not get, kindly mute, thank you. So you will not get as high returns, for example, if investing in their money market funds, which have that compounding interest that will give you a higher amount in consideration to the treasury bond of a specific amount. I hope that makes sense. So again, it goes back to you. What do you want to invest in, and how long do you want to invest your money? So you can look at probably the money market fund liquidity, security, is ability of getting your money. You can look at the treasury bonds, the security. I will not touch that money. It is for my retirement. Again, it goes to what is your goal, right? Yeah. So I hope that has been answered. We can go to Samuel Gatmai and Kwach. Maybe you can ask your questions.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank the presenter, Martha. Thank you for helping us become more aware of our financial plan, budgeting, and also to invest. How to identify finance and the way we can help solve them. I'm grateful for the time you've spent in careful.
Kwach, you've gone quiet. You're most welcome. I haven't gotten the question. Kwach? Maybe Silas, you can help me in picking out the participants as well.
Our time is almost up, so Mercy, maybe in responding, you can summarize We have Gatmai, your hand is up.
Okay, that's okay.
And then.
Okay, thank you. Let me just ask briefly. Firstly, is you talk of credit rating. Credit rating when you are giving your lending is very important because you need to know the honesty of the person that you are trying to lend to or the person that is borrowing, for instance. But as that is per individual basis. How about if it is a country now? How best can you be able to handle the credit rating, for instance? And again, is investing not saving itself? Because when I'm investing, I'm also saving as well. Are they different?
Okay, thank you for that. So I'll go back to the definition when we talked about saving. So when we talk about saving, we are just putting money aside, right? But when we are investing, we are putting that money that was put aside into use, so that when we put it into use, we are getting interest, right? And that interest is what we are looking for, because then that interest, which will be compounded, will help us to achieve our financial goals. We have talked about the let's call it disadvantage. The disadvantage of only saving is, yes, you will get capital preservation. Like maybe if you have saved 10,000 USD, you'll have your 10,000 USD, but you're not putting into factor the time value of money. You're not also putting into factor the inflation rates that are happening globally, right? So you will still have your 10,000 US dollars, but then the value will have gone down. The purchasing power that it had maybe 3 months ago will not be the same as now, right? So saving will actually helps us to invest, because we are looking to get into an amount that the different investment vehicles want in order to take your money, right? So we can call saving a stepping stone to investing, which now will bring you the yields, right, or the profits. What was the other question?
We also have
Samuel.
Hi, yes. I have 3 questions here. Question number 1 is, what is the difference between a budget and a plan? And then 2, you talked about retirement. How can one prepare for his retirement or her retirement plan, and at what age? And then question number 3, you talked of emergency saving. What are some of the examples of emergency saving? Thank you.
What's the first question? I'm just writing it down.
Yeah, the first question is, what is the difference between a budget and a plan?
Okay, so thank you for that. So, well, we'd say in this session, I'd like to call them synonymous, because when you budget, you're planning, right? Planning is determine what goes where, and when you plan, you're breaking it down, because you know the amount and you know the period it's going to be there. And that's why we said, even in planning and in setting your goals, they need to be smart, right? You need to put a numerical figure to it. And so when I say I'm budgeting, that's actually part of planning, because in budgeting I am showing my money where to go, right? And by showing my money where to go, I am actually planning. I hope that's understood, right? And when we talk about retirement, there's a question you have asked, and I'll start by saying the best time to start planning for your retirement is now, right? We have talked about financial planning being important, because it not only deals with the current you, it is also meant to serve your future you and also your generations. Okay, so when you are thinking of a retirement fund, it will be a long-term plan, right? And that's why we were talking about things such as the treasury bonds. You know, this is a vehicle that takes up to 20 years, right? And so you are assured your money is there and it is getting interest. But then let's say into bonds, you have to put the interest in another vehicle, because they will they will separate the principal amount from the interest, and that's something we can do more research on. Finally, when you talk about the emergency saving, we will put it in like our short term. This is money that you need when something unexpected happens, right? That's an emergency. So vehicles such as the money market fund will serve best because the money can be easily liquidated at a shorter period of time, as opposed to other fixed, maybe deposit accounts. I hope that's well understood. And also because of the interest of time, I allow me to give it back to Silas, and we can continue the conversation on WhatsApp, if that's okay. Silas?
Thank you, Mercy. It's 501 or 401 in South Sudan, and I want us to kindly end it at that point so that we can be able to keep time. Today we started on time, and I would like us to also end on time. So I know matters finance can never be exhaustively covered, but I believe today's session has been able to effectively equip us to manage our finances. So what you can say is, should there be any questions that are pending, let's use the WhatsApp group to ask those questions, and I believe Mercy will be available and willing to respond to such questions. So we can end at that point. After this, as I said earlier, we will be able to share with you the resources, the slides, some resources that are helpful, and the recording, so that you can be able to use those ones for your references, the other thing, we will have, I'll share a link with us for the evaluation. We always evaluate all our trainings. So I will share with us a link for us to evaluate the training. When I do that, it's a very short questionnaire. It should take you about 5 minutes. Kindly give us your feedback and be honest in giving the feedback, because we will use that feedback to improve our services the next time you're doing such a thing. So provide your feedback there, and then we'll be able to make the necessary changes as there may be need. So from us at EDAS Consulting is to appreciate all of you for turning out and taking part. I know you had challenges with the internet, but I'm glad you are able to keep it to the end, and we really appreciate that. To EFSS, of course, we highly appreciate you as well. First, for considering to offer South Sudanese youth this opportunity. This is a noble opportunity and a great way of just developing your own. So thank you for thinking of that. And secondly, for considering EDAS Consulting to facilitate this. We are grateful. And to Mercy, our trainer, thank you so much. This is clearly your forte. This is your area of strength. And I believe all of us, from the comments I'm seeing on the chat box, guys are saying you've done a good job. Mercy deserves credit. Many thanks to Mercy. Thanks so much, Mercy. And many, many, many other positive comments. So thank you, Mercy, for a job well done. Lastly, I'm not sure whether Thomas has any closing remarks, or we can end it at this point. We are done from our side as EDAS Consulting. Unless you have something to say, we will call it a day. Mayol, I just talked about training materials a few seconds ago, or a few minutes ago. Bida is not with us.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Silas. We'll share all the resources during the week, and please, once the post-training evaluation is shared in the WhatsApp group,
please do like fill in and give very honest feedback. And I wish you the very best of your evening, and we continue to link in the WhatsApp group. Take very good care of yourself, and happy Sunday in advance.
Thank you. We officially close it at this point. You can leave at your own pleasure. Let's keep the conversation going on the WhatsApp group.
That's it. That is done.
Thank you.